Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite dark sorcerer here. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about baneful sorcery and spiritualism. Okay? There's a lot that goes into this. So I hope you have a pen, paper, probably a notebook, because there's some things that you're going to be looking up on your own. Made some coffee for this too, so gotta have my coffee. Love it. So, baneful magic and spiritualism. Every religion has a form of spiritualism, but they've also got the light and the dark aspects that you don't really hear about that often. Um, Basically, for the most part, you get into any religion, you're going to be hearing more about the light than you are the dark. Okay, it takes somebody with a lot of balls to delve into demonolatry, to delve into baneful magic, and to perform rituals of, say, curses, hexes, jinxes, utilizing effigies mixed in with somebody's hair or an article of their clothes, something that has their saliva on it, or even a used condom or whatever. Okay, it takes balls to get into this type of magic. And like I said, just about every religion has this form, and it deals with spiritualism. You take the Knights of Templar for an example. They were ordained monks. They were holy monks that was an army wielding swords, cannonballs, these big wood things that they built that flung rocks, okay, bow and arrows, the whole kit and caboodle when it comes to warfare. They waged war even though they were considered to be the protect, but yet they violated the highest commandment, one of the highest commandments, the Ten Commandments itself. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not kill. Okay? So, yet they did this. So, you see the dark aspect here. And yet, because they were ordained monks and they worked for the Vatican, they were, well, forgiven. They were overlooked for the atrocities that they did throughout Europe and the Middle East. Okay? You go back into the Hashishin, an assassin order that lasted about 200 years, credited with over 300 confirmed kills. They were highly feared and highly good at what they did. It was said that they appeared just as quickly as they disappeared. Okay? Their weapon of choice was anathema. Okay? And it's interesting because the Hashishin was an actual order of monks who were highly trained in combat. If we think of this type of order today, we think of a video game. Okay, and I believe they actually put out a movie called Assassin's Creed. Okay, so you're seeing this in Hollywood, you're seeing it in video games, but this is history, though. This is actual history. So I want you to have a firm foundation for what I'm about to get into. And then if you go into the Middle East, such as Mongolia, for an example, India, or even surrounding, let's go with Pakistan, you know, Asia, even, you have Genghis Khan, the leader and founder of the Dark Hat. These are dark shamans, by the way. Dark shamanism, dark or black shamanism. You can actually look both of them up, and they will show you different formats of what they are and what they entailed. Little history background behind them. Okay, so then we have the main JCI. Okay, thou you have the Hebrew Bible, the main JCI, the Judeo-Christian Institution Bible, that deals with human and animal sacrificing. Okay, this is stuff that black magicians and sorcerers, witches, were accused of doing, but yet this was done in the name of their god. Okay, look at the book of Leviticus, the burnt offerings. Look at Abraham sacrificing Isaac. Okay, or how about Daniel, the book of Daniel's, where Daniel wasn't, his friends were tossed into a furnace, or Daniel himself that was tossed into a big giant pit with hungry, ravenous lions. This is just the Old Testament. Just think, what's in the New Testament? Paul, a former Pharisee, a warrior, gets stoned to death after becoming a devout of his so-called God. Stoned to death. Okay, this is, and it wasn't just this. Saint John. Okay, the prophet John, beheaded, sacrifice, human sacrifice, because a woman wished it from the king. And it said, the scripture says that he immediately regretted doing it. Okay, this is what I mean by it takes balls to practice black magic, baneful sorcery, within a form of spiritualism. A lot of places have a lot of mysticism and deals with curses, hexes, and jinxes like the witches market. People are afraid to go there. Okay, even in the Quran, even Islamics went to these dark shamans, these practitioners of baneful sorcery, magic, to perform acts of mediumship, spiritual work, such as fortune tellers. India, right now, is one of the most renowned areas in the old world that still practices black magic. There's one guy that actually made his temple within the cave systems. The cave systems, a dark, damp place where he performs baneful sorcery, dark magic. You go into Malaysia, Indonesia, even. You see where these individuals will attack you as spiritual assassins. Mexico, the Brua or Brua, utilizing spells, utilizing cow's tongues, toads, wings of bats, in the whole 9 yards within a canning jar to curse your ass. Just saying. You look at E.A. Coetin, for an example. I believe it's in the second chapter, I think, within the Baneful Sorcery book. He speaks about spiritual assassinations. Spiritual assassinations. Just in that book. And he fills up an entire chapter just about on this to give you a major insight into what a spiritual assassin is. A what the BBC News is basically accusing him of is ritualized murder, Okay? When in fact, all he discussed is a psychopump. A psychopump. Performing feats of black magic, utilizing an effigy and an item from your enemy, linking them together within a binding, and performing black magic, utilizing demons, not going out and shoving a dagger into somebody's gut or slitting their throat. No. Ritualized murder. This means symbolic. This means you're in the ritual, not in the real world. But think back into the burnings, the witch trials, the Dark Ages, the Renaissance, the Holy Wars. Magic of this sort was highly feared. It was believed so much by the right winged fascists that they raped, murdered, pillaged, tortured so many practitioners through over 1,000 years. Over 1,000 years. Just to remain on the top of the food chain. Hell, they even fought wars against the devil himself. So now you have an insight of what spiritual assassination is. But I want you to think about this for just a moment. In today's world, what type of magic, what type of person is able to perform such destructive magics that it affects somebody on a cellular, a molecule, every DNA within your system that will affect you in such a way that it will make you ill, that it will kill you? How many practitioners worldwide are capable of such feats? You have very powerful brujos down in South America, between Colombia, Brazil. Hell, you even go down to the southern tip in Inca province, as far up as the what used to be known as the Aztec territories. You'll see some practitioners that are highly feared, but highly respected, that are able to perform such feats, such as telling the future, performing spells of black magic. You get on social media and you type in black magic, you'll either come up with an all girls band or you'll find these little mini clips of roughly about 5, 10 minutes long of a shaman and ministers down in Mexico. One from Texas doing a autobiography. You'll see, you keep going on that aspect and you'll see them worldwide. They'll do interviews. And it's always the bad guy, the warlock. It's always the Bokor. It's always the Marimberos, the Darak, the Dark Oak, the Black or Dark Shaman. Hmm. That's always accused of this type of stuff. When in fact, it could be just about anybody can do it if they put their mind to, but they go with the herd conformity. The 15th to the 17th century, it was huge to use poisons. Nicholas Remy, a renowned Catholic, by the way, spoke on this. Witches and warlocks were immune to their own venoms to the point where every single one that was tried, and that book has so many different witches, so many different dates of people who were tried and convicted of witchcraft, what was found on their persons, described three types of powders, which comes into play with alchemy, herbalism. Interesting, isn't it? But today, we see this stuff in video games, role-playing games such as D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. You see it in Hollywood-produced films. Very few people actually practice this type of magic, especially those within the occult. Brian Forsey, what's up? Pharaoh Stiller X, welcome back. So here it is. Necromancy is used in many different forms. In Brujeria practices, we see where people would go to a brua or brua for justice, to balance the scales. Obey, for an example, is one of healing and justice. Many would go to a bokor or a kaplata within Haitian Voodoo, even Voodoo itself, to perform justice, to balance out the scales for any number of things, not just fortune telling, but through baneful sorcery, baneful magic, because they work with demons, they work with devils, they sell their services just as much as the Hungan or the Mambo, the Papa or Mama. Hell, even in Palo Mayumbi and Palo Monte is more spiritual in nature. Therefore, you're going into the spirit to weaken everything within the physical realm. Because it's said that if you weaken it and destroy it in the astral plane, then guess what? Right here, it so too will end. Why do you think so many people perform black magic, forms of black magic to get jobs, to have these doors open to them? The Latin community, you're going to hear just about all kinds of feet. They're highly into Catholicism or some form of Christianity, but yet they still go to a brua or brua for spell castings. I know this better than anyone because I was initiated into Santeria in Pero down in Tucson. This type of stuff happens. You'll see these people, these black magicians, these sorcerers and sorceresses sitting right there in the front row, right in the middle of the pews during ceremony, mass. Because later on, they're dealing with their customers, bringing about justice, because the legal system just ain't up for that task. You go into Greek mythology and you have Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft, goddess of ghosts in the underworld, of necromancy. But wait for it, she's also the goddess of justice. Egyptian, you have Osiris, the god of iniquity. You see, he basically, when you call on him, he basically uses your own guilt against you, your own wrongdoings. He does it right against you. You align that with Hecate, you're in for a lot of hurt. But wait for it. Let's go into Hinduism. You have the Devi. You have Lady Shiva, goddess of destruction. Do you know how many practitioners in India utilizes her, works with the lords of death and destruction? A spiritual assassin through their own will is someone who is, well, let's just call it the way it is, a hunter, or basically a hunter. They're relentless. When I think relentless, I think of the Sumerians, 300 men against 2,000, 4,000 men, and they overcome. They were the most feared army outside of the Acadians. But it's interesting to see how they utilize every aspect and skill that they have at their disposal to go into the astral realm, to envision their targets, be it the church, be it an enemy, and be relentless in the assaults. In the assaults. See, this is what I'm saying. A spiritual assassin is relentless. Their only goal, their only aim is to complete their mission. Just like the Hashishin, the Knights of Templar, they fight to the last. I got a lot of respect for the Knights of Templar. Their creed, their motto was never retreat. And yet they did after the first, second, and third, well, I should say the first and second crusades. They lost every man and they sent more. After the second one, guess what? They were betrayed by the church. Shocker, right? People go to shamans, the dark shamans, such as the Dark Had, to fight the white, the yellow shamans, basically, the yellow shamans, to create justice. The Dark Druid basically uses everything from human animal sacrificing to the five knots, the Celtic knot, basically. Different stages of, from teachers to warriors, protectors, guardians, you name it. They utilized herbs, prayer. The Druids were a fascinating people up until the Romans destroyed the originals. Now we just get bits and pieces today. But outside of mythology and history, we still got, like I said, bits and pieces, but archaeology has put a lot of things together. Satanism. Today, you have destruction rituals. You have bindings, jinxes, curses. You can call on Santa Morte, beloved death. You can call upon just about any god or goddess to aid you in your whims so that you don't have to get around your enemy. You can attack them from the other side of the world. I once did a spell for a client. The client told me that the target basically was white as a ghost in less than 7 hours. And it was like the lead disappeared from his pencil. Basically, he went limp. Limp dick is what they refer to it as. In less than 7 hours. And it lasted a week to teach him a lesson. to teach that target a lesson, to see the error of the target's ways. I performed destruction rituals where the person literally ended their existence within 12 hours. Less than 12 hours. Black magic is very real. Working with demons and spirits is very real. Your commitments to them, very real. And most importantly, the things that you do through your rituals is you alone doing it. They've shown you how to do it. They've trained you and taught you how to perform these rites and rituals, how to take an effigy, bind it to a target, and to unleash hell upon that victim. Yeah, black magic is very real. And no, you don't have to go out into the world and do what this punk did over in London. No, you don't have to be a part of the herd conformity and gangbang somebody through, well, let's just call it defamation of character. Nah, do the right, and once you flung it, once you put it out into that ether, sit back and watch events happen. A lot of people expect things to happen up front. They expect it to happen here and now. They fail to realize that it could happen within a week. Hell, it could happen within a couple of hours. Hell, it may take years down the road, and all of a sudden, that target, that enemy, gets hit full force. There is no easy button when it comes to magic and learning the tools and the methods. And that's what a lot of modern day society fails to understand. You have to learn to master yourself before you can master the world. You want to be a master of the world? Master yourself first. Any good teacher will look at their student and say, "Oh, you want to learn how to fight? So you want to hurt people." A great teacher will look at you and tell you, "You need to learn how to heal first before you can learn to destroy." Lady Shiva, Hecate, Osiris, Supe, Kali, the Destroyer, every single one of these beings, even a demon, can help you. But does it make you the bad guy or the bad woman? No. You see, people who seek out justice, when the system fails, they always turn to the practitioner because our shit is real. It works. And the funny thing is that even through the JCI, the Judo Christian Institutions works, their Bibles, the Quran, the Jewish Bible, the Hebrew Bible, the mainstream Christian Bibles, they all show these Christians, these Israelites, these Jews, literally going to a practitioner when it's supposed to be illegal by their own mandates. Their own God demanded that you don't go near, you do not frequent, you do not associate with a necromancer, a truth sayer, or a practitioner, such as a fortune teller. But yet, how many times do we see this? Even in today's society, we see this transpiring. I can't tell you how many Christians have come to me in the last few years, wanting a curse to be done. because they're curious. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people turn away from the church, but keep that persona, those mandates in mind, and believe that it is what it is not. You see, I've seen this so many times that it's predictable. And today you have the BBC News over the last year, since last year, pushing this crime that a kid did, a mentally disturbed individual did onto EA Quetti and Balg. Hell, I've seen Balg literally implode. Group friends, such good friends, these top individuals suddenly just go their own way. A friend of mine told me about that, and it was like, what the, what the hell? But yet, since that breakup, you see him start changing, adapting, bringing in new blood, so to speak. And then Zuckerberg had his entire accounts shut down. YouTube shut his account down. Why? Because the BBC News is trying to connect a dot that is not there. They haven't even shown proof of their statement that this kid frequented the forums of how to become a living god. No proof. Even E.A. Quetting said, aka Matthew Lawrence, said it point blank in his video. There's no evidence that he was even on the forums. I definitely didn't frequent with him. I don't even know the kid. And yet the BBC News has claimed this. And we all know it only takes one accusation to kick off a witch hunt. Did we learn nothing from 1604? Hmm. Right in Salem. Ironic, isn't it? The world changes, but people stay the same in their own idiotic, limited mind frames. Sad. But spiritual assassination, spiritual usage of baneful sorcery, this is definitely real. It definitely works. My advice to you, if you're going to preach something, back it up with multiple sources or be made the fool. Anybody can make an accusation. Anyone can do this stuff. I believe it was Alistair Knott that said it best in one of his books, his early books. He said, and I quote, "We live in a time where the pen is mightier than the sword." And you know what? It's true. Because all it takes is one accusation, and you can destroy somebody's life. You can either create them or you can destroy them, all by a pen, just a pen. BBC News, for an example. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of Balg. I own a few of their books, but that's it. I do my own thing. But here's the kicker. When we think baneful sorcery, spiritual assassination, it's what you do at your altar. Atheistics would call it psychopumps. But when you are able to wield your own will, your own knowledge, You're intense through rituals, ceremonies. You'll be surprised at what will transpire. The more you put in, the more you get out of it. So, with that said, I've given you sources, regions, even. Delve into it and see what happens. I would also recommend Google to you. Google is a very good machine that you can Google all of the things I've discussed here in this video. This is an educational video platform. That's it. My own apprentice asked me, have I considered in making a Patreon? I said no, because I don't want anything to do with that stuff. I have no need for it. This is my journal. This is my life's work. I don't care if people like me or not. I do my own thing, plain and simple. The question is, do you want to be like the herd conformity and live a lie, or do you want to learn the truth? To learn from history, archaeology, mythology. That is up to you. Have a good night.